This formation is shit. This formation is shit. Arsene Wenger. This formation is shit. What's up, everybody? This is Chicago Gooner, bringing another Arsenal talk. In this Arsenal talk, I'll be covering the Anderlecht game. I'm going to be discussing the first 88 minutes of the Anderlecht game more so than the last 5 minutes. Because it just needs to be talked about more than getting the 3 points. Seeing some of the stuff on Twitter, it kind of just, boggles my mind of, some Arsenal fans. Well, it doesn't matter. We got 3 points, and that's all that matters. Well, I don't, maybe this is the first game that you've actually watched the entire season, but, in a few words, you can just say Arsenal has been piss poor throughout this entire season, and we're almost into November. This season's almost been 2.5 months now, and kind of using the excuses of a World Cup hangover and all that other kind of crap. The excuses are no longer. You can't use them anymore. You can't use the World Cup hangover as an excuse anymore. It just boggles my mind of some of the stuff that's being kind of like brushed under the rug, so to speak, throughout today, like after the game. Because yeah, we did get the 3 points, we got the win, but it almost feels like a loss. From watching that game from start to finish, it really almost feels like we lost the game rather than we won the game. I guess there's like a little VIN that I saw of Alexis Sanchez after the final whistle where he just kind of shook his head and he's just like, yeah, it's just that just doesn't feel right. That we came out with 3 points. But let's talk about him a little bit, Alexis Sanchez. Like I said in my last episode of the Hull City review, if we don't have that guy, we're really in deep shit. Because he has been our best player by a long shot. There's really not anybody close to him. Danny Welbeck could be, probably second on that list. And other than that, when you look at the list, there's basically Sanchez and Welbeck, and then there's everybody else. But Alexis Sanchez, his work rate, his work ethic, and what he does on the pitch and how he just goes hard the entire time he's on the pitch. You can't say enough good things about him. One of the things that just like strikes me is, it just boggles my mind. When Ozil came to the club last year, you could see it almost immediately, especially in that Sutherland game, which was his first game in an Arsenal shirt. You could see the difference in the squad. You could see kind of like the confidence. You could almost see like a swagger about the group of players that he brought. He brought kind of like a new life to the club. Because at the time we were unbalanced. We were kind of like, we don't know what this team is. They've won a bunch of games prior to getting Ozil, but we still weren't confident in them. But then once Ozil got to the club, it seemed like he brought a new energy to the club. He brought new energy to the players. It seemed like players were rejuvenated almost, that a world-class player came to Arsenal. And you would think that the same thing would happen with the Alexis Sanchez signing. Now, I would have to imagine after a game, each one of the players that actually plays in the game, you would have to think that they rewatch the game back. Sometimes in a game, sometimes you just can't take notice of possibly a person's work rate or whatever because you have so many responsibilities and you have to stay aware 100% of the time. It might not seem like the players are staying aware 100% of the time, but that's their job to do that. So maybe they can't actually see uh, what Alexis Sanchez does on the pitch every second. But when they rewatch the game back and they see his work rate and they see the way he runs, uh, obviously, not everybody has his pace and everything like that, but that's just like a poor excuse to use of not working hard. Um, you look at Sanchez and Danny Welbeck of how hard they work, of how much they try to press the ball and they try to get the ball back, and there's no help behind them. So many times this year already, you saw Alexis Sanchez and even Welbeck too running at uh, opposing team who has the ball, and they're trying to cover each guy, and so that they maybe have to release the ball quicker than normal. And sometimes the ball gets released, and all of a sudden Sanchez looks behind him, and there's no one behind him helping him, and he kind of flaps his arms up in the air like, what the hell is going on? Where's my help? Where's the defense? Where's the other guys pressing? So it kind of shocks me that other than Welbeck, no one's following Alexis Sanchez's lead, which is shocking because Alexis Sanchez is a world-class player. He came from Barcelona to where, he was a world-class player there, but the spotlight wasn't shined on him all that much because of the Messi and Neymar and Iniesta and Xavi and guys like that. To where he didn't have like the spotlight shined on him. A lot of people say, "Well, I feel sorry for Alexis Sanchez that he has to come to Arsenal and play with like a group of these players that are not even up to par to a Barcelona type player." But I think that's what Alexis Sanchez wanted. He wanted to come to a place to where the spotlight was going to be shined on him, so that he can be, considered the hero, so to speak. But watching him play, and you would have to think a player rewatches a game back, and you would think after rewatching even one game back of watching Alexis Sanchez, that something would click in a player's head, like saying, "God, look how hard he works." Look at him tracking back 60 yards to help out Kieran Gibbs or Colin Chambers or Debussy, whoever's the fullbacks. Look at him, look at him track back 60 yards just so he can help out. Look at him running at defenders, trying to get the ball back. Look at him trying to create things, and look at him trying to make runs, taking shots on goal and everything. And it just seems like some of these players are just, they don't care. Some of these players are, it's kind of like lead by example type thing, because there is no real kind of leadership at Arsenal right now as far as a player goes, or a group of players. So it's kind of, I would think it's kind of like lead by example. But if you want to lead by example, look at Alexis Sanchez. Look at his work rate. You can even look at Danny Welbeck, who was brand new to the club. Those two guys are working 10 times harder than everybody else on the pitch. But no one is following. And I don't understand it. Like going back to the Ozil example, a lot of the players saw how a world-class player trains, plays, thinks, acts. And here's another world-class player in Alexis Sanchez, and it seems like everybody's blind. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. That he's working this hard, but no one else is. Other than Danny Welbeck. Those are the two hardest workers. In today's game, you could put Kieran Gibbs on that list, because Sanchez, Welbeck, and Gibbs, those were the only highlights of the game. Those three players. That was it. Through the first about 75 minutes until the Ox and Campbell came on. Other than that, no one else stood out. Everybody was struggling for some reason. Of course, like I started this out, the formation is just, it's ass. Having that many people in the midfield the Ramsey and Wilshire thing. I know Ramsey just came back, but it just doesn't work. And also having Santi on the pitch as one of the wingers, of course, playing him out of position again. We have two wingers sitting on the bench, and the Ox and Campbell. I just don't get it. I didn't get the even lineup. I was still like scratching my head. What does Campbell have to really do to get a game, to get a start, even against an Anderlecht side who was nowhere near in form at the start of this game? I mean, they lost their last, I think, 3 games, and they only scored 1 goal in those 3 games. But we made them look like a pretty decent side. I mean, people were praising Anderlecht even after the loss, praising them of the way they played. We did nothing in the first about 75, 80 minutes. Nothing. Here's a stat for you, which is it's pretty disgusting. We had 13 total shots, 4 on target. Three of those shots came within about 5 minutes of each other. And that was the Gibbs goal, the Podolski goal. And even if you take those 2 on-target shots off, in 93 minutes, we had 2 shots on target. Shocking. Against an Anderlecht side who wasn't in form. People were saying, well, they look tired. They didn't look like they had much legs. These are professional athletes. These are professional footballers. They've been doing this in their entire life. But that's an absolute shocking stat that we had only 2 shots on target other than our 2 goals. We had 65% possession. We had 3 corners, which went to dog shit. And again, why is Santi Gazzola taking a free kick 25 yards out? He did it in the Hull City game and went right into the wall. He did it in this game, he went right into the wall. But Alexis Sanchez takes one near the end of the game, and he almost puts it on target. He gets it over the wall. It was inches away from going in. The goalkeeper would have had no chance at it whatsoever if it was a few inches to the left. Because like I said in my other episode, before a game, everything should be set in stone. Who takes the PKs, who takes the corners, and who takes free kicks 25 yards out or closer. Why is Arsene Wenger or whoever's in charge of to order the PKs, the free kicks, corners, and stuff like that? Why are they telling Santi Gazzola, who honestly isn't that great of a free kick taker to begin with, when you have a really good free kick taker in Alexis Sanchez, who has already scored one this year? Why not have Sanchez take it every single time? But again, went right into the wall and it just wasted a chance. There's just so many things that went wrong in this game. I mean, we looked uninterested. We just didn't look, there was times where, we were trying to, pass the ball around, and I mean, there's, in this formation, I mean, it's dog shit. This is like a broken record for me. Because in this formation, when you run that 4-1-4-1 crap, you have one guy in the box. I mean, Welbeck at time 90% of the game, when he was in the game, it was just him in the box. That was it. No one else. Because you have Sanchez pushed so far out that he can't help out. And then Santi was, who knows what he was doing. He roaming around, giving the ball away, not helping out defensively. There was a couple times on the counter where Sandy tried to pass off uh, the player onto Cullum Chambers, and Cullum Chambers already have someone marked. And other than those three players of Gibbs and Sanchez and Welbeck, there was no one else. I mean, can you give Aaron Ramsey a pass because it's basically his first game back? He played 20 or 30 minutes of the Hull City game. He how he played all I think he played all 90 minutes of this game. How he played that, I don't know why Arsene Wenger kept him in the game for that long when he's not match fit. Flamini too. I mean, the Flamini Wilshere Ramsey thing just doesn't work. And if you're gonna run that fucking formation, at least put two actual winners on the pitch. But you have two winners sitting on the bench, just sitting there. And I don't know what dream world that Arsene Wenger and Steve Bold and the rest of the staff live in to think that, oh, they'll eventually pull this one out. Nothing was working. I think in the first 75 minutes we had one shot on target. I made a tweet earlier, during the game, saying that uh, the Anderlecht goalkeeper has ordered a pizza and a six-pack of beer just to entertain himself. Why is this always happening with Arsenal? We're not challenging the goalkeeper. We're not trying to keep him on his toes. So what if you take a shot from 20 yards out or 25 yards out? At least try to get something on target. Challenge the goalkeeper. Maybe we'll get a rebound, but we're never going to get a rebound, especially in this formation, because everybody is outside of the box. No one's selling out. No one's trying to go back post. It's like everybody else, except for Welbeck and Sanchez and even Gibbs, it was like everybody else was just waiting for someone else to make a run. Like with Ramsey and Wilshere, I think the communication's obviously not there because each one of them don't know who's going to go forward. Or are you going to go? I'm going to go. Wait. What? Are you going to go? I'm not going to go. Are you going to go? I don't know. It seems like that's what it is. Yeah, I have a friend which I wish I could bring him on because um, he's a soccer coach here in the United States. He's a high school soccer coach, and unfortunately he's a Man United fan. But he's not. He watches games when he can, but he's he's very smart. He's very intelligent when it comes to football and formations and what works and what doesn't work. And uh, one weekend he actually watched the Chelsea game. Um, one of the first things he pointed out is just like, why is Ozil playing on the left side? That was one of the first things he said. I was just like, I just kind of scratched my head. I just let him talk, and I was like, tell me what's wrong. Tell me what's wrong with this formation. Tell me, if this works or not. And one of the other first things he said is he's just kind of like, is this the first time you guys run this 4-1-4-1? And I was like, no, we've been running it almost the entire season. And he said, why? I was like, I don't know. Because the 4-1-4-1 is almost like a defensive formation. And how he kind of broke it down for me was basically saying, you're kind of neutralizing your own talent. You're neutralizing your striker to where he's going to be working alone and that's it. There's going to be no help for him. That's how a 4-1-4-1 almost works, where he's going to have no support whatsoever. Because the midfield is so cluttered, your wingers are so out wide that there's going to be absolutely no help. He flat out told me if I run a 4-1-4-1, if he runs a 4-1-4-1, which he never does, he said he hates the formation, and so there's really no point. If you're going to play a defensive formation, you might as well just play a back five and live with that. Because he says basically a 4-1-4-1 is a defensive formation. It's not an attacking formation. It's a defensive formation. He said the only thing he can come to think of why Arsenal is playing is so they can get Jack Wilshere and Aaron Ramsey on the pitch at the same time. But at the same time, Arsene Wenger is neutralizing one of his best players in Aaron Ramsey, not be able to let him perform like he was last season. And hearing this like breakdown of of the formation and why he hates it and why it should never be run, especially on a professional level, especially if you're Arsenal, it just kind of, I wanted to pull my hair out. Because in this formation, we're neutralizing our best players, our best attacking players. In this formation, we have not scored more than 2 goals in a match. In today's match, we didn't score any in this formation. And the one thing that just irritates the shit out of me is in the past 3-4 years, there seems like there's a plan A, but there's not a plan B, C, or D. We didn't see our plan B until Lucas Podolski came on late in the game. In the 84th minute. And when he came on, he signaled to Alexis Sanchez with 2 fingers saying we're both playing up on top. And we switched to a 4-4-2. When you're playing a team who plays all 11 behind the ball, parks the bus, who plays more counter-attacking football than anything, which they did the entire game, you have to play 2 strikers up on top, because if you play 1 striker, it makes it so easy for that back line to mark the striker to the point to where they don't have to worry about anything. But if you put 2 strikers up on there, it causes confusion. It causes confusion between the 2 center halves and the fullbacks and even the DM. Because instead of the DM helping out the center halves with the lone striker, now the DM has to look elsewhere. He has to look at one of the CMs, which one of the CMs is pushing forward, which one of the CMs is going to be attacking, what angle is going to be attacking on. Is he going to go straight down the middle? Is he going to go from the left or the right? So again, the formation was all wrong, knowing full well that Anderlecht was going to play all 11 behind the ball. And plus, throughout the game, if you kept on watching it, every time they counterattacked, they had so much energy in them. So much energy in them. You saw 5-6 Anderlecht guys sprinting down the pitch every single time, even in the 80th minute, even in the 86th minute, even after Kieran Gibbs scored his first goal. They still had a ton of energy left in them because we weren't doing anything. We weren't challenging them throughout the entire game. We were doing absolutely nothing to challenge them. We were doing absolutely nothing to break them down, to wear them out. We were wearing ourselves out, that's for sure. Because I don't know how you can sit there as Arsene Wenger on the bench thinking, well, we'll eventually pull this one out. The substitutions, Campbell and Oxlade-Chamberlain came in on the 75th minute. Think about that. They came on probably about 20 minutes too late. And of course, what sparked that is because Anderlecht scored in the 71st minute. It took for Anderlecht to score a fucking goal for us to finally bring on players. And that entire time, even from the beginning of the game until they came on, it was screaming for more pace. If we had Joel Campbell from the start, or even an Ox from the start, instead of a Santi Cazorla on the left or right, it would have made such a huge difference. Because Colin Chambers was never going to be a threat against him because he doesn't have any pace. He wasn't going to be, a pacey fullback. So Anderlecht had nothing to worry about. They had absolutely nothing to worry about throughout the entire game. But then once Campbell and Ox came on, we switched up our formation. But the other thing about the substitution was, in the 75th minute, was that Danny Welbeck was one of the people, along with Matthew Philamini, to be taken out of the game. We're down one goal. We're down 1-0. We need a goal back. We need an equalizer. We need as many goal scorers on the pitch at one time. But yet he takes Welbeck out. Where's the logic in that? And like I said from the beginning, against Anderlecht, why wasn't Joel Campbell played from the start? He showed good energy and he played well against Hull City when he finally got in the game. So why wasn't he given a chance to just start the game from the beginning? Why did we go into more of a defensive formation against a fucking Anderlecht side who is going to play 11 behind the ball anyway? And thank God for Gibbs, and thank God for Podolski coming on. Thank God Podolski is still, thank God he's still all there. Of all the rumors that's been going around for the last about week and a half that he hasn't been happy, and that come January he wants out, which I think it'll probably still happen. But thank God he came into the game and he was ready to score a goal if needed. Because then you even go to our back line with BFG and Monreal, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. Why not just put Monreal as a right back and just put Chambers as the other center half? That just didn't make any sense to me right from the get-go. It's like he's forcing Monreal into that center half position. So Arsene Wenger can come out, when January hits, and when we don't fucking sign anybody, well, we got Monreal as a cover there. He's going to be our quote-unquote fourth center back. I can just see all the excuses now. When January hits and we're all, on the very last day of January, screaming for a couple signings to come in to help the squad, to strengthen the squad, especially defensively. And well, we couldn't find anybody within this month. They should already have a list, names, everything going, talking to agents already, right now. Because honestly, if we don't sign anyone within that first week in January, that first maybe week and a half, we're probably not going to sign anybody. Because we desperately need two more defenders coming in, at least probably a DM or in a center half, for sure. We definitely need a center half. I mean, if anything, we need a center half to come in immediately. And like I said in one of my other tweets before, I mean, I think fucking Arsenal is just cursed. I mean, with Ospina out for 3 months, I mean, we have a freaking goalkeeper who gets hurt, who has a thigh injury, out for 3 months. Because the one thing that Arsenal lacks right now is an identity. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they are. Like I said, we won the game today, but it feels like a loss. It definitely felt like a loss after the game. And I hate to say this, I mean, in my years of following Arsenal and seeing all the different players and starting 11s and the team and everything, this is quite possibly the worst Arsenal side I've ever seen. I mean, this is worse than the 12 and 13, the first half of the 12 and 13 season. And that was, there was a lot of ups and downs in that first half in the 12 and 13 season before they finally switched gears and they turned it on and we managed to scrape into the top four on the very last day. This is quite possibly the worst Arsenal side in a very long time, which is shocking because if you just look on paper and you look at all the names, you say, no way, there's no way. That there's just no way that a team with this much talent could be this bad. I mean, right now we're 11 points off of Chelsea. There's no way we're catching them unless something catastrophic happens to Chelsea and City on top of that. There's just no way we're catching them. Not the way we're playing. And other than maybe a couple players, there's just no heart, there's no pride, there's no fight. It's like no one's taking responsibility for how they're playing. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a VIN of Alexis Sanchez after the game shaking his head like, yeah, we didn't deserve that. And when you have a team like that, I mean, it's shocking. I mean, it really is. This entire week so far, from the Hull City game to now, it's just, the old Arsenal, when they would have a result like that against like Hull City. I mean, it's happened plenty of times this year already, but when you're looking at um, a result like that where we should have won the game, we should have won the game easily. The next game, Arsenal would come out and just blow the roof off, and you would kind of see that fight, and you would see players, having pride, taking responsibility, almost saying sorry to the fans that we're playing this poorly. But they haven't done that yet this year. Out of all the games that we've played so far, we've only played two really good games, and that's it. And that's the Aston Villa game and the Galatasaray game. That's it. Other than that, we've played like shit the entire season. I almost wish Alexis Sanchez, I don't know how much English he can speak or how fluent he is, but I wish, someone get that guy a tutor immediately and teach him the English language so he's fluent in it. So, because that could be your leader right there. And like I said earlier, it's just shocking that no one's following his lead. No one's following the work rate that he's bringing to this club. He's showing you every single game so far why Barcelona has been so dominant. Forget all the world-class players that they have, but if you don't have the work rate like Alexis Sanchez does have, you don't play for Barcelona. There's no way you can make that team. There's no way you can make that a starting 11 unless you have a huge work rate. And the only one that's mirroring that kind of work rate is Welbeck, as far as our attackers go. I don't know what's been going on with Jack for like the last two games. When he plays for England, he's gun ho and playing well, and but then he came back from the international break, and he didn't look good at all in Hull City. He didn't look good at all in this game. Aaron Ramsey, I guess you can, like I said, you can give him a pass a little bit because it's his first real game back, and how he played all 90 minutes and how he was allowed to play all 90 minutes is beyond me. That's just bad managing right there. When someone comes back from a hamstring injury who's not match fit and you play him all 90 minutes, that's just bad managing to me. Santi Cazorla, how he stayed on the pitch for all 90 minutes is beyond me as well. And after this game, Arsene Wenger had a quote saying that uh, it's because of the experience of all three players that came into the game late is why we won. Okay, if Joel Campbell is not starting on the game against Sunderland this weekend, if I was him, during January I'd just be like, dude, loan me out somewhere because this is ridiculous. And two, I don't understand, if you're going to play Monreal at the center half, why not put Chambers there? Put Monreal even at the right back. Even throw Bellerin out there for Christ's sakes. Again, shitty formation, and on top of that, you're playing players out of position. Jamming a square peg into a round hole. I hope when I get to, Arsen's age, uh, which is still a ways off, I hope I'm not as stubborn as he is. Because every game from this point forward, so far, even going up to this game, he's losing his fans game by game by the way he's managing, the way his tactics. Let me give you a little bit of an example here. Let's do like kind of a real life thing. If someone comes up to you that you don't even know, some stranger, you're walking down the street and the stranger comes up to you and he basically says, you know what, you're an asshole. And you kind of just look at him and, okay. You kind of walk away and laugh and, but that's one person. But then you're walking down the street some more and all of a sudden another person says, you're an asshole. And the next person, you're an asshole. On and on and on. Say like 1,000 people in a day call you an asshole. Chances are you're a fucking asshole. That's the same with his tactics. You can go on Twitter and during the game, that's all people were talking about. His tactics. There's no plan B. There's no backup plan. His tactics are just all wrong. I can see if a few people were just talking about it. And that was it. Arsene in his, well, everybody's a critic. Okay, if a few people were only saying it, okay, you can say that and get away with it. But if everybody's fucking saying it, if everybody's saying your tactics are wrong, your formation is wrong, your starting 11 is wrong, your substitutions are wrong, does that mean millions of Arsenal fans are completely wrong? You can listen to any of the top podcasts for Arsenal, and they're all saying the same things as well. His tactics, his substitutions, his managing of the game. Because you either adapt or you die. One of the two. And right now, Arsenal's dying. Because in the beginning of the season, I said, realistically, looking at an unbiased approach, I said, we're going to finish either second or third in the table. We're going to make the quarterfinals of the Champions League. When you looked at this team on paper, and even if you looked at a Chelsea, a Man City, and all the other teams, of course, in my heart of hearts, I want them to win the league every single year. I want them to have a deep run in the Champions League and even win the Champions League. That's what I want. That's the fanatic in me. But looking at it on a biased approach, I looked at it as, we'll probably finish second or third in the league this year. We'll get into the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Right now, the way we're playing right now, there's no way we're getting top 4 this year. There is absolutely zero way. And when we get into that final 16, because it's pretty much guaranteed now with this win. We play Anderlecht next week, and then we have uh, Dortmund at home, which we'll probably get our asses kicked. And then we have Galatasaray at their place. Basically, we need 2 draws out of the next 3 games to move through. And it's pretty much virtually impossible for Anderlecht or Galatasaray to even squeak into that second spot unless we lose all 3 games. That's the only way. Because we have 6 points, basically we need 2 draws. If we beat Anderlecht next week, then we're in no matter what. But then again, we'll probably get a shitty draw like we always do. We'll probably get Bayern Munich again for the 3rd time and get our asses pushed in. Because I can't see, I can't see us winning the table or winning the group. I mean, they're not letting me see this, but I mean the goal differential already is just. I mean, Dortmund won what 4-0 today. I think they won 5-0 against Anderlecht. So I mean they're what are they plus 11 or 10 or something like that right now. We're only plus 4. I mean we have to beat Dortmund 6-0 basically when they come to the Emirates, and that's not going to happen. Even as poorly as Dortmund is playing right now. I mean, they seem like they're 2 different teams when it comes to Bundesliga, and then when it comes to Champions League. When it comes to Champions League, they're one of the better teams in Champions League right now. But when it comes to their own league, they're playing like shit. But it's not like that for Arsenal. We're playing like shit on all fronts. So something needs to change. Something needs to change with these players. Someone needs to step up and start taking responsibility. Someone needs to start stepping up and be a leader, because it's definitely not Mertesacker. That little, like I said, the excuses of a World Cup hangover, you can't use him for him because he's retired now from international play. There's already been, 2 international breaks already? So that's time off for him to breathe and have a little extra rest time for himself. So that and on top of it, he was benched anyway in the World Cup. After I believe it was a group stage, or after the round of 16 game, I believe he was benched. After that, he didn't play until the last 2 minutes of the World Cup final. So there's no real excuse for him of why he's playing so poorly. And we just lack that leader. People say, well, we don't need that type of leader. Well, tell that to Tony Adams or Patrick Vieira, and tell me how those teams performed under their leadership, and compare it to this team right now. Compare it to the last 2 or 3 years. Because if the manager's not a good enough leader, then the rest of the players, I mean, some of these players must feel so comfortable that no matter what they do, no matter how poorly they play, that they're going to be in the starting 11 no matter what. So if they feel that way, I mean, there was kind of like a funny tweet. I don't know if the guy was being sarcastic or if he was being serious, but it was a tweet about Aaron Ramsey saying, once you become a model, his football knowledge and his football terms go right out the window. He needs to start being a footballer instead of being a model. These players need to start taking responsibility. These players need to look at what Alexis Sanchez, of how he's playing, Danny Welbeck, even Kieran Gibbs, and say, you know what, I better start busting my ass if I want to be part of the starting 11. So things need to change. They need to change in a hurry, because we're going into November already. And if we don't pick things up within the next few weeks, you can kiss Champions League nights for next year goodbye, because it's not going to fucking happen.